Hi, and welcome to Prepping Essentials. Got lots of stuff in the car today to move across to the cabin. But as you can see, it's still pitch black. So I'll tell you all about that later once I get settled in the cabin. Well, good morning. It's the weekend, thank God. This first week back from the Christmas break has been a bit manic. More manic for other people though, especially those who were hoping to get into hospital to have some treatment, or people who were hoping to jump on the train to go to work. For those of you not in the UK, it's chaos this first week back. The amount of trade unions that are striking now, it's chaos out there. Thankfully, it doesn't really affect me, but if you're in the UK and you are one of those people wanting to go to hospital or go to work on the train, sympathies to you. I feel your pain because I hear people talk about it all the time. Especially work colleagues of mine who live and work in London as opposed to remote working or travelling around by car. I digress. Already, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you're staying safe and well and enjoying your weekend. It's a bit of a wild windy morning this morning. We've had rain on and off pretty much all week, though the temperatures have been surprisingly mild. A balmy 8 to kind of 11 during the daytime, but we've got quite a big wind. Morning cockerel. Quite a big wind again today. The forecast is here in the UK for another freeze heading our way from Sunday, and potential for more snow. I'm hoping that doesn't happen, because that really would add to the chaos. Anyway, I didn't really want to talk too much about the chaos that goes on around us with all of the various crises that we've got going on. I really wanted to draw attention to the way in which people are being manipulated, and more importantly, the surprising degree to which people buy in to this manipulation. I don't get it. After all of these years of watching and seeing how people react and governments react and the media reacts to a variety of things that go on, I just really can't get my head around. Are people really so stupid? Do people not see that they are being manipulated? The news this last week or two has been more distraction. Media's kind of not dumbed down, but quietened down a little bit on Ukraine, though it has popped up again over the last 2 or 3 days as talk about potential ceasefires and Christmas truces was in the media. But most of the stories aren't around the war in Ukraine. They're not around the cost of living crisis. They're not about the state of the economy. They're not about rising inflation, rising interest rates, rising numbers of companies laying off workers. No. They're all busy talking about Andrew Tate getting arrested in Romania. Big celebrity on YouTube apparently, though I have to confess, until the news articles broke, I really had no clue who he was. And to be fair, I still don't really, because unlike other people who immediately jump onto Google and go, who is Andrew Tate? I didn't, because it was obvious from the start that it was a nothing burger story deliberately put out there to capture the masses' attention. And as if by magic, right on cue, who else pops up? I nearly swore then. That's another thing you're not allowed to do on YouTube anymore, so you get banned and demonetised. But true to form, keen for his 15 minutes of fame and a few more quid in the bank, Prince Harry pops up. Hot on the heels of his US media circus that he's been doing over the last few months, selling his stories of woe and despair and how he's been the underdog and treated badly, and I won't even go there to talk about his wife. It's obvious who the main trouser wearer and manipulator is in that relationship. But he's bringing a book out, another book. I think he's got one out already. So of course the media were there instantly leaking the stories and telling the tales that he's going to tell in his book and stirring up more hype and hysteria over this non-person. If ever there was an example of disloyalty, betrayal, it's been demonstrated by him on others, and not, as he would have you believe, him being the victim. But again, I digress slightly. The main thing really that I wanted to say today was around this. Are people really that stupid? Do people honestly live their lives around this endless stream of drivel the media puts out to distract you from the real issues going on? Do people really buy into, still, after all of the saga of fake news during the President Trump era, do people still buy into it? Because looking at people around me and looking at the media stories, it would seem they do. So I really have no sympathy for people if that's the way that they live their lives and that's what is most important in their lives. It must be a really shallow existence. And as we head through 2023, which it's already becoming quite clear is going to be even more chaotic and worse than 2022, as we head into 2023, they have no one but themselves to blame for their lack of preparedness and for the ultimate pain that will be showered upon them by these various crises that have been gradually building over the last one, in some cases 2 years. So that was it really. I would just encourage people, I'm sure I've said it before in previous videos, try and ignore the mainstream media as much as you can, because it's just full of BS. And I guess repetition of last weekend's last weekend's video, because I'm pretty sure I mentioned it during that. Try and ignore these. It seems a never increasing number of YouTube channels that are just perpetually focusing on the end of life tomorrow. I must have seen at least 6 videos pop up as thumbnails on YouTube just over the last 3 or 4 days that had thumbnail titles. Apologies if I don't put them in the video. I'll try and put some of them in, but I don't really want to give them airtime, in all honesty. But I've seen certainly videos over the last 2 or 3 days along the lines of, it starts in 36 hours. World War II in 24 hours. Sorry, World War III in 24 hours. Nukes on the move. It's not frustrating, it's really angering me a lot lately. So apologies if that's coming across in the video, I don't mean it to. I'm trying to refocus people's attention from the idiocy of the celebrity news and the doom and gloom porn of a lot of YouTube channels now. Even here in the UK, I've seen people, SHTF has hit the UK, SHTF has arrived, the health service dies tomorrow. Just ignore it and stay away from it and focus your attention on stuff that you can actually do and control yourselves, and get yourselves ready. Get the stuff now that you are going to need through the rest of this year, and get it now while it's still on the shelf and while you can still afford it from the meagre amount that you'll have left over due to the rising cost of pretty much everything and anything that you can think of. So take steps, do stuff now. In terms of what I'm up to, I'm really trying now to focus on the spring. I know it seems a long way off yet. I just unloaded a load of stuff from the car today to bring down to the cabin. As I said last week, I think, I'm trying to move stuff around so everything's not in one place, and so that irrespective of where I am operating from, whether it's the house or whether it's, if the stuff really goes wrong, if I end up moving here and operating from here, I will have stuff to hand immediately, and I can always do that last minute tidy up as I settle myself in. So I am thinking about spring already. I've brought a few bits and pieces down today. I might unbox a couple of those just to show you on the video. Chickens are already done. They've got the food and water topped up. They've actually, where are they? Surprised me this morning. Bear with me a second. After a few weeks of not producing eggs, I know they look a bit dirty, but they've obviously been walking around, because two of these were actually on the floor of the coop rather than in the nest boxes. Not quite sure why that was. But yeah, they produced eggs, or started producing eggs again after a bit of a drought. So that's some positive news. Well, it is for me. Hopefully if you have chickens, yours are doing the same and helping to offset some of that cost of living increase, and of course ensure that you've got a regular supply of protein and nutrition. Because I've been watching quite a few YouTube videos, particularly from America. I don't know why they're appearing to be worse off than we are in the UK. I mean, we've got this bird flu and have had now since, well, we had it in little dribs and drabs over the whole of 2022, but it kind of kicked in with a vengeance around August, September time last year, and the lockdowns, I mean, there were restrictions, but the real lockdowns hit back end of 2022. I think it was late November, early December. So we are still going through that. That's not been eased off, but America seems to have hit really, really hard, and price of eggs there have kind of gone through the roof, and there's talk about not just huge price rises for chicken meat, but shortages in some places. Can't say that I've noticed the same effect here, apart from the price rises, which it's hard to notice one thing amongst a basket of everything going up. But I guess we'll see as we roll on through 2023. So yeah, I'm trying to take notice of some lessons learned from 2022 with the growing season, and take some action now and begin to think about how I'm going to organise things in the garden room, the polytunnel and the raised beds. I'm going to make a point next week of popping into, there's a couple of shops that normally have an early start with things like seeds, onion sets. So I'll be taking a little look in those to try and catch them early as they come in, because one of the things I do think we'll see a noticeable shortage of, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I will be, is seed stock, whether that's actual packets of seeds or whether that's seed potatoes, onion sets. I suspect we'll see a bit of a shortage of those this year because of all of the disruption to the planting, growing and harvesting season in 2022 and indeed in 2021. These things often have a lag effect. I think I've spoken about that before in terms of canned foods. There's a kind of a lag, so the bad harvests tend to manifest themselves in the supply chain, certainly for things like canned goods and seeds, in later years. So let's see what happens. But I suspect there will be a drop in availability and of course a rise in price in 2022. Let's see what happens, I guess. So yeah, a little bit of planning preparation, a little bit of moving of stocks. I'm tempted, if this rain eases off, to drag Little Red Tractor out just to give it a warm up and a run and make sure that everything's okay. Might even do the same with the petrol generator. And a little bit of measuring up in the cabin. I've kind of neglected the cabin a little bit over 2022. There were some jobs that I wanted to get done, but with the disruption of the house move, the job change, the seemingly ever increasing number of crises that we were running into during 2022, I kind of lost track a little bit. And that was one of my New Year's resolutions, was to try and play catch up on stuff that I really should have done in 2022 and just for whatever reason didn't get round to doing. So maybe that's a point for you to ponder as you watch this video, or after you've watched this video. Was the stuff that you were really wanting to get done that didn't get done? Did you make your year's resolutions, and how are they going? If you went a little bit off track this week and kind of forgot about them with the return to work, maybe a bit of a refocus on that. So that's really it from me. I will pop some little clips in, I guess, of stuff that I do, but I'm guessing that they'll be quite short. Who knows? I guess it depends on the weather. I can already feel the heat from the fire dying down, so I think that needs a little bit of a stoke up. I certainly need to get this coffee down me, so let me know what you're up to in the comment section below. Give me some feedback from the points that I've raised. Give others the benefit of your knowledge. What are you doing in 2023? What are you doing now? Get populating in the comment section. It helps me and it helps everybody else that watches the channel. But wherever you are, whatever you're doing, do stay safe and well. Enjoy your weekend. I'll catch up with you later. Well, just bringing the Little Red Tractor out just to give it a warm through. It's way too wet to be driving around the field. Plenty of other things for me to be doing, one of which is a casualty. I had to take the wheel off the wheelbarrow because it's got a puncture. So that's in the cabin now. I'm going to get that stripped out and repair the tube. Well, while Little Red Tractor's warming up outside, I'm going to tackle the wheelbarrow and get this tyre repaired. Well, that's the tyre done. So that's good, get that back in the wheelbarrow. Well, this continuous drizzly rain is not nice. So I'll be pleased when I'm finished with the outdoor stuff. painful. But we're there. Oh, we're back on the road. Put it away. Well, one of the things I brought down from the car this morning. Don't get too excited. It's not anything Gucci like a solar generator or anything like that. But it is important, and probably in terms of spring planting, one of the more important things that I've been thinking about. So what have we got? Ta-da! You can see that. Premium paraffin. Keep the box. It'll come in for fire burning. So there we go. Got 4. You wouldn't believe how much this has gone up in price. Really ridiculous now. Over £2 a litre. But needs must. So this is for the paraffin heater, which will be going in the polytunnel. I've literally just brought it into the garden room just to top it up and of course make sure it works. In fact, let's have a little run in there and we'll see. So this is where it's all about, or will be all about, is a paraffin heater. So let it warm through a little bit. It gets rained on in the polytunnel. There we go. So the idea is we'll have this in the polytunnel and it just twists on to lock it in place, and there we go. Could do with a bit of heat actually. Messing around with little red tractor and the wheelbarrow, my hands are freezing. Maybe it's time for another coffee. That flame might not look like much, but it'll make a massive difference in the polytunnel. So hopefully once I've got tidied up in there and laid everything out, we'll be able to get an early start this year with the planting. Well, I've got quite a few jobs done. Might not seem like much, but most of it's off camera. There's one other thing which is propped against the wall behind the camera there. I've got a huge, it's actually a roller blind. My son moved house last year and changed quite a few of the blinds in the house, and this one came out of one of the really big windows in his house. I'll stick a picture somewhere on the video. The idea really is that in the garden room there, if you've been viewing the channel for a while, you'll know that during the drought summer that we had, I got lots of plants burned in the garden room because there was no let up in the sunshine and no shade for the plants. So the idea is that I run it across under the roof, and when it's really, really sunny in summer, if it is, I'll roll that out and just provide a bit of protection for the plants. I've got another one, a small one. I might shade part of the cabin roof with that. I don't know, we'll see in due course. But that's me about done for down here. Got a few bits to do in the garage when I get back. I'm busy rotating out some of the canned goods and the long-term bulk dried food. But it would be remiss of me to not leave before I've spoken about another thing that cropped up this last week. Again, this distraction, media hype, political hype. Our latest Prime Minister, we've had a lot in the last 7 or 8 months, 3 in fact. The latest one used to be the Chancellor of the Exchequer, so the guy in charge of all of the finances for the UK. His name's Rishi Sunak. So he's now Prime Minister, and he was on TV this week and promising action. 5 pledges, promises that he's going to do before the end of 2023. So what were these 5 things? First one was he's going to halve inflation. I'm pretty sure inflation will drop at some point this year, but then again, as we head towards the end of the year, it'll start to spike back up again. But he's going to halve it. Now bear in mind that this is the guy who, when he was in charge of public finances in 2021-2022, spent over £400 billion of printed money from thin air. He just got the photocopier going, printed off his 400 billion and just started throwing it around. That is one of the major causes, if not the major cause, of the inflation that we've got currently. Don't let them tell you it's all about oil and gas, because it isn't. That's a whole other story. So he's gonna halve that. Can you believe it, from the guy who actually created the problem? I wouldn't if I were you, but let's see. He's going to grow the economy. Again, this is the guy, along with the previous Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, that shut down the economy in 2021-2022 off the back of the COVID crisis, which actually wasn't. It was another created crisis by government. So during that period, lots of companies, smaller companies, went out of business. The economy went into meltdown. So even though he created that problem, he's going to fix it. The third of his 5 promises, he's going to cut debt. Again, this is the guy who created more debt, hundreds of billions of pounds worth of it over the last couple of years, and is continuing actually. Now, how is he going to actually cut debt? Government can't, though I suspect they probably will at some point this year, just keep printing money, because that causes the inflation that he's promised to have. So what's the only other way? If he's not going to borrow or print his money, fake money, to cut the debt, and bearing in mind that interest rates are just going up and up and up and up and up as well, so the cost of borrowing and the cost of repaying the previous debt continues to rise exponentially every single month. I'll give you a top tip. Buried in the last budget, the autumn statement as they called it, back in, I think it was November, buried in the small print of there were a massive raft of tax rises. I'm sure I've mentioned them in previous videos. Taxes across the whole spectrum, so it doesn't matter what you do or how much money you earn or what you choose to spend it on, they're going to start grabbing it. Now, most of that doesn't take effect until April, but just watch out for that in April, because that really is the only way government can start to cut away the debt. They can only do 2 things. They can take more money off you, or they can cut the amount of services they provide to you. All governments are the same. That's the only two things that they can do. So, fourth on his list, he's going to start cutting down waiting times for people using the health service. They should be doing that anyway, but clearly they haven't because of all the lockdowns over COVID. Primarily, waiting lists just went through the roof because nobody was allowed to go to hospital, nobody was allowed to leave the home, and people don't stop getting sick, and the ones that were sick during COVID clearly got sicker and need more medical intervention, and of course there's all the people who have got sick and will continue to get sick as we go through this year. So how is he going to do that? The only realistic way is to throw a bunch more money at the health service to create more jobs, more people delivering the service, but of course that means spending public money. And where does that come from? Borrowing or your taxes. And then finally, a bit of a contentious subject, he's going to stop the illegal immigration into the UK, which primarily is via these little boats that keep coming across the English Channel and have done for years and years and years. But in 2021, 2022, the numbers just ballooned out of all proportion. I mean, why wouldn't they? People come here because they know that the government will spend money on them. They'll give them free housing, free healthcare, free education for the kids. They'll give them free money in handouts. So why wouldn't people want to come here? It's a bit like the southern border of America, the issue that they have there. Very similar. Southern border in America, people walk across. Southern border in the UK, people either come across in the back of a truck or they get into small boats and they just sail across. I think it's a 12-mile stretch at its shortest point. I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. And they don't even have to get here. All they need to do is get on a boat and then phone the other side to the police or the emergency services and say, oh, my boat is sinking. And you couldn't make it up. We'll send out the Coast Guard to sail out, pick them up onto a big boat and bring them back. 45,000 people made that crossing. That's the ones we know about in 2022. 45,000 just sailed across, or we picked them up on the way and brought them back. Now they've talked about this forever. All governments talk about it forever, but nothing ever happens. We never turn the boats around, as the Australians didn't, subsequently fixed their illegal immigration problem. We don't do that, we just bring them in. So, as I say, 45,000 just in 2022. So those are the 5 promises, pledges that Sunak has made. He's going to do that this year. Let's see how he gets on. But more importantly, stand by, because you're going to see massive tax rises and massive cuts in the services that your taxes are supposed to be paying for. And I suspect somewhere along the line there'll be some sneaky money printing as well. I mean, we seem to be just falling over ourselves to give away money. 4 billion plus last year in declared spending just on Ukraine. That's in gift aid, you know, cash money sent there, here you are, there's some money, go spend it. That's not counting the, I dread to think how much in billions it is of actual equipment that we have sent, weapons and so forth. So don't buy into the politicians and the media who will spin you the story. Just don't worry about it, we're going to fix it, because it's absolute BS. Do something, get prepared, get yourselves a plan, get yourself some supplies built up for when ultimately all of these crises merge and it just drops off a cliff. Anyway, that's me done. I'm going to get myself packed up, get myself off home. I'm about ready for something to eat actually. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stay safe and well. Have a great weekend. Keep on prepping, and if anything, prep more, because you are going to need it. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Well, that's it for this video. I hope there was something in there that was of interest to you. If you did like the video, please do click on the like button. Also feel free to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. As always, I welcome any comments, questions or suggestions you might have. Just feel free to leave them in the comments section below. But for now, thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.